Hey guys, welcome to another car review episode of the 2022 Mazda 3. And I'm really excited to present this car to you because it really is one of my favorites amongst a lot of other cars that I test drive, and it really all starts off with the brand itself. You see, Mazda was founded over 100 years ago, and I'm not going to go over the full history, but on a personal note, while growing up in the 90s, Mazda, just like a lot of other Japanese car makers, built cars that were very affordable and practical. Mazda also built cars that were really fun to drive, namely the Mazda Protege and of course the infamous RX-7 that has achieved a very high level of collector status till today. Fast forward to around 2000s when the affordable sports car era completely died, Mazda still continued to build very fun and engaging cars to drive, namely the Mazda Speed 3, which had the most insane amount of turbo boost and torque there. And despite the fact that the rotary engine suffered from terrible reliability and poor fuel efficiency, they still proceeded to build the RX-8 anyways by keeping the zoom zoom experience alive. Up to around 2010 and present, Mazda introduces the Kodo design language. Their aim was to establish a middle ground between lower tier affordable and higher tier luxury vehicles to separate themselves apart from other competitors. With that being said, there are three key things you need to know that makes Mazda vehicles so great in their present generation of vehicles. Number one is aesthetics. You can expect really good design because that's what the brand really revolves around, with smooth contours and excellent proportions that, in my opinion, makes their cars look very modern, contemporary, and I really think the cars are really amongst one of the nicest vehicles that you see on the road today. Number two is the engine. Mazda has really invested a significant amount of financial resources in the research and development of their SKYACTIV engines. With that being said, you can expect very smooth and comfortable and quiet torque delivery in their vehicles. Number three, last but not least, is of course their drive, and it really is the fundamental reason that I think that Mazda has such a huge fan base global or worldwide, is because Mazda has really continued to build cars that are really fun and engaging to drive on the road. With all being said about the Mazda brand and the background in itself, let's dive deep into the Mazda 3 in itself. As mentioned earlier, there is a huge emphasis on the overall design. The entire vehicle is chiseled only with smooth contours and constructed with soft-looking materials. Take, for example, this bone-like chrome bracket for the front grille. It's a highly complex piece that looks very dynamic in any angle that you look at. Even the edges on the infotainment screen are tapered to give it a more sophisticated look. Now I also want to mention just how amazing the color palettes are available on the Mazda 3. Last week I had the Soul Red metallic paint on the Mazda 3 5-door hatchback, which looks really nice, but personally I like the machine gray metallic paint that we have here because it contrasts so well with the Garnet red dyed perforated leather seats, which looks absolutely amazing. The GT trim that we have here also comes with jet black 18-inch machined rims that look really nice and gives the Mazda 3 overall a very calm, cool, and collective look. The Mazda 3 is a compact vehicle and is offered in two variants, the Mazda 3 Sport in a 5-door hatchback or the Mazda 3 in a compact sedan that we have here. Now I just test drove the 5-door hatchback but wanted to showcase the compact sedan because A, I felt that it was a little bit more practical, and B, I didn't want my viewers to think that this video was a review of a computer mouse. Nevertheless, you can't really go wrong with either because the Mazda 3 does have a lot to offer that really separates itself from other competitors, namely the Honda Civic, Hyundai Elantra, or Toyota Corolla. Now the Mazda 3 model isn't anything new, but there has been some significant upgrades made over the last few years. Namely, last year, Mazda introduces the 2.5-liter turbocharged SKYACTIV engine that significantly produces more power at a whopping 250 horsepower as opposed to the naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine that only produces 183 on the GT trim that we have here. Mazda now also offers an 8.8-inch infotainment touchscreen running on the latest Mazda Connect software across all trims, which is also a really nice feature. So with that being said, the Mazda 3 really appeals to buyers that wants a premium looks and feels, smooth engine performance, and a car that's really fun to drive. Now that you have a lowdown on the Mazda 3, let's talk about how much it's going to cost you. Base models get a 2.0-liter engine outputting just 155 horsepower and 150 pound-feet of torque at a starting price of $21,150. Next up is a 2.5S sedan with a larger 2.5-liter engine and a higher 186 horsepower output. It will also come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay standard. For slightly more, the Select trim gets blind spot monitoring and rear cross-traffic alert. This trim also unlocks the upgrade to the i-ACTIV all-wheel drive for about $1,500 more, which is highly recommended. Moving on to the preferred trim that we recommend, comes with a more convenient features including an 8-way power driver seat with 2 memory positions that are also heated as well. The Carbon Edition adds enhanced cosmetics with polymetal gray metallic paint with 18-inch black alloy rims and Garnier red perforated seats, similar to what we have under test. The premium trim gets you leather trimmed seats with an upgraded Bose 12-speaker sound system and adaptive front lighting systems. This is the equivalent GT model under test. Finally, the 2.5 Turbo and Turbo Premium Plus buys you into the Power League with standard i-ACTIV all-wheel drive producing a whopping 250 horsepower output. Only preferred trims and up are available with i-ACTIV all-wheel drive systems. Premium trims below can be configured in front-wheel drive with either a 6-speed manual or automatic transmission. All-wheel drive models are limited to a 6-speed automatic. As mentioned earlier, the Mazda 3 is a really fun car to drive, and it all really starts off with the engine. The GT Turbo comes with an amazing turbocharged 2.5-liter SKYACTIV engine that boosts the horsepower up to 250 on 93 octane. On regular, about 227, which is really amazing. Now the GT trim that we have here comes with a naturally aspirated engine version, which only produces 183, but still feels very ample and really nice to drive as well. Up front also contains the McPherson strut front suspensions, which also feels really nice in the handling department. Available on the Mazda 3 also comes in either a front-wheel drive or the i-ACTIV all-wheel drive system. I highly recommend you get the all-wheel drive system for a few reasons. For one, it's going to give you more traction around cornering and especially in slippery and wet conditions, making the Mazda 3 a bit more versatile. And two, it comes with what's called G-vector control. It uses the ABS system to slow down the inner rear wheel while cornering to give you more lateral forces. And number three, the i-ACTIV all-wheel drive system is rear wheel biased, meaning it provides more power on the rear wheels than in the front, giving you a similar feel of a rear wheel drive sports car, which is really nice. Now, where the major limitation of the Mazda 3 I would say are in the rear suspension setup. It uses a torsional beam. Essentially, it's got a metal bar connected between the rear wheels, and it really contributes to the stiffness around cornering and contributor to understeer. While this makes the overall Mazda 3 more reliable because it's more simple and uses less parts, what you ultimately want are multi-link rear suspensions to give it more degrees of freedom and more dynamic control around cornering. Moving on to the interior. The cabin space is one of the major highlights of the Mazda 3 with a huge emphasis on attention to detail. Although the interior is all black, the overall design is highly dynamic and consistent that's constructed with soft touch premium materials that both looks and feels amazing. There are literally no square edges and everything just looks really pleasing to the human eye. One of the high points I would say would be the moonlit analog digital instrument cluster and the widescreen 8.8-inch infotainment display running on the latest Mazda Connect software. It's got an excellent UI UX design that also runs very smooth and fast as well. I also want to add just how amazing this Garnier red perforated leather seats are on our Canadian GT trim. A dedicated dual climate control panel also helps make the overall user experience both comfortable and convenient as well. There is one minor pet peeve I would have to say, and that's the center console. The gear shifter takes up a lot of room, which makes the location of the cup holders at the top an awkward and inconvenient location. The plastic lacquer panels are also prone to fingerprints and scratches. Let's hope Mazda will have a better solution on later revisions. Now, I test drove the GT Turbo just last week, and that vehicle felt absolutely amazing with the sheer amount of horsepower it had available in all-wheel drive mode. Now, the GT trim that we have here comes with just a basic 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine that just produced 183 as opposed to 227. And I would say that the GT trim still provides ample power, but I would say it's not close to the GT Turbo because that performance feels absolutely incredible, and it's actually got a really nice engine tone on the GT Turbo as well. However, if you want to save some money with the GT trim with a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter SKYACTIV engine, it is really not a bad choice. Overall, I really like the way the Mazda 3 drives. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's really easy. Visibility is really good across left, right, and center, and even the rear visibility, which actually is a little bit better on the compact sedan as opposed to the hatchback. And I would say the overall noise in the interior is really quiet. I really like how calm and collective the overall Mazda 3 feels. What I also really like available on the Mazda 3 is the heads-up display, which really conveniently displays the vehicle speed as well as the speed limit using onboard cameras and image detection, which is actually really nice. The infotainment system is also really easy to use. Even while driving, I can easily navigate to different menus without too much distraction from the road. Now, I would say handling is definitely the high points of the Mazda 3. It feels really responsive with the steering wheel, and it really feels light on its feet, and I have really good road feedback. However, when you really try to push cornering on the Mazda 3 really hard, that is where the limitation starts to show, especially with the torsional rear beam suspension. Now, I really like the i-ACTIV all-wheel drive system for a few reasons. For one, it's called G-Factor Control, which improves lateral cornering a little bit. Now, what I also like about the Mazda 3 is the i-ACTIV all-wheel drive system. It does give you a little bit more traction, and it improves cornering capability with the G-Factor Control. It's also rear biased, so it does make the Mazda 3 feel more like a rear-wheel drive sports car as opposed to the front-wheel drive version that I test drove earlier last year. So that being said, if you have the choice, don't skip out on the all-wheel drive system because I really think it's going to be a well-worthy upgrade. Now, the Mazda 3 feels really quiet and comfortable, which is what I really like about the Mazda 3 overall. I will say the suspension setups are tuned a little bit more on the stiffer side to give it a bit better handling capability, but I think it's a good compromise to sacrifice that little bit of comfort with softer tuned suspensions. Where I would say the limitations would be in the powertrain. Mazda never really vested money in developing alternative engine configurations like a hybrid or EV powertrain. They've kind of just stuck with a naturally aspirated or turbocharged SKYACTIV engine lineup with a standard 6-speed automatic gearbox, which does feel very dated in today's terms. But they've really continued to refine a lot of the kinks out, which really makes the Mazda 3 feel very comfortable, and it has a really good balance between performance and comfort. The Mazda 3 is an excellent compact vehicle that offers excellent practicality, premium looks and feel, and ultimately a really fun and engaging car to drive. Of course, that all doesn't come with a free ride because you really are paying more for the more premium performance and luxury features. Still, I think these features are well worth it, and I really enjoy the test drive on the Mazda 3. Unfortunately, one of the limitations I would say are of course the rear suspension setup with the torsional beam suspensions. It really makes the Mazda 3 feel stiff around corners, but hopefully later revisions will improve the suspension setup in the rear. Nevertheless, that's my take on the 2022 Mazda 3. I really hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching and keep driving.